Alright guys, I grew up in Surrey. I lived there for 22 years before eventually moving to Abbotsford in 2017, and I've been here for 6 years now, and I have an unbiased opinion on this subject, and I'm going to share it with you guys in this video, both the pros and the cons of living in either city. So if you're thinking of moving to one or the other, you're going to want to stay tuned until the end of this video. Alright, so I guess I'm going to start off with the things that I enjoy about living in Surrey better than living in Abbotsford. So Surrey is a lot closer to nightlife. Now, Surrey itself doesn't really have any nightlife, to be honest with you. We have Tap House in Guildford, and then there's like a town hall kind of in like deep Surrey, Newton area. Other than that, there's pretty much nothing. However, Surrey is very close proximity to other cities that have decent nightlife. Like, for example, Langley surprisingly has a lot to do. Not only that, you're probably a 15-minute drive or Uber to the SkyTrain station in Surrey Central, which will take you to downtown Vancouver, where you have clubbing, concerts, and Canucks games. So although Surrey doesn't actually have a lot to do within the city, it is very close proximity to other cities that have a lot to do. Also, depending on the type of job you have, Surrey is a lot closer to downtown Vancouver. So if you have to commute, definitely going to be, a lot easier on your mental health. Now, that being said, it depends on the part of Surrey you live in, because if you live in North Surrey, the highway is right there, super accessible. However, if you live in South Surrey, yes, there's a highway there, but that highway takes you into the south side of Vancouver. So if you say need to get to Burnaby, it's probably going to take you just as long to get from South Surrey to Burnaby as it would Abbotsford, West Abbotsford to Burnaby, because you kind of both have to drive that same route, but at least in West Abbotsford, you're on the highway right away, where it's South Surrey, you have to drive through Surrey, hit a bunch of lights before you get to the highway. So although speaking in terms of which is closer to downtown Vancouver, Surrey is closer to downtown Vancouver. However, there are parts of Surrey that aren't as accessible to the highway as Abbotsford. Now, there are some things that I miss about Surrey, like, for example, everybody I know still lives there, so it's very difficult for me to hang out with my friends, and I very rarely ever see them because of that. And Surrey's also super nostalgic for me. It's where I grew up. I have a memory on every block of Surrey. And driving through Fleetwood, I get those nice, warm, nostalgic feelings. However, if you didn't grow up in Surrey, you're probably not going to get those feelings. And that's pretty much it for the pros for me on Surrey. Now, let's get into Abbotsford. So, for starters, my favorite thing of all about Abbotsford is the fact that there is no traffic within the city. Now, anywhere west of Abbotsford is pretty much a nightmare to drive through the city after 1:30 p.m. Langley, forget about it. Surrey, Guildford 152 area, forget about it. Nightmare after 1:30 p.m. You're going to hit every single red light. It's going to take you 20 minutes to drive 15 blocks. However, the trade-off to this is that leaving Abbotsford, there's pretty much always traffic, especially if you're leaving early in the morning or mid-afternoon. You are going to get absolutely destroyed by traffic driving west. Now, when I moved here, I was a plumber, and yes, I did pretty much have to leave at high traffic times and drive downtown pretty much every day, and that really sucked. However, my company paid for my gas and some of my travel time, so it ended up being not too big of a deal for me. But if I paid for all of my gas and had to leave at those high traffic times, I probably wouldn't do it. So no traffic in the city, tons of traffic leaving the city. Now, obviously, the second thing that I like about Abbotsford in comparison to Surrey, if you check out the detached price chart here, is that Abbotsford is about 25% cheaper than Surrey. And again, this is why it really depends what you do for work, when you leave work, and what you drive. And again, it really depends what you do for work, when you have to leave for work, and what you drive. Because if you had a job where you, say, needed to be in Burnaby at 11 a.m., well, you would pretty much have the same amount of travel time as somebody who had to be in Burnaby for 11 a.m., but they lived in South Surrey. However, you'd be saving 25% on your housing costs every single month. The guy in South Surrey might get there, maybe 10 minutes earlier than you, but for saving 25% on your monthly housing costs, I'd say it'd be well worth it to live in West Abbotsford if that was your situation. See, like for me being a realtor now, I can plan my day around the traffic, and it's been amazing for me because I just leave. I basically don't plan any meetings out west during those high traffic times. I try to plan them where I know I can drive in and leave before the traffic ever hits. And as a result of that, I rarely ever sit in traffic. Now, another area that I'd say Abbotsford has Surrey beat is the restaurants. Abbotsford has a lot of great restaurants, wineries, and breweries all within the city. Now, Surrey does have some good restaurants, but only in like the older parts of Surrey, like in Newton and stuff like that. Like I grew up in Guildford and Fleetwood, and we would always drive to either Vancouver or Langley if we wanted to eat at a nice restaurant because there's really nothing close to us. You know, Abbotsford, you get Fieldhouse Brewing, Old Yale Brewery, wineries, Lou's Grill, Paliotti's, Broders, just a whole bunch of good restaurants to choose from, and they're all 8 minutes away from my house, and I don't have to sit in traffic or red lights to go there. Some other notable things about Abbotsford is it has its own international airport, which is probably a 15-minute drive or less from anywhere within Abbotsford. You're also 10 minutes or less to the US border and 10 minutes or less to a Costco. Now, Surrey is also right on the US border and also has a Costco. However, again, depending on which area of Surrey you lived in, like I lived in Guildford, it was, you know, a 25-minute drive to the US border, and Costco was like a 30-minute drive unless I went to the Langley Costco, which was still, you know, a 20-minute drive. So I actually think that in terms of just like day-to-day amenities, Abbotsford has Surrey beat, believe it or not. Something else I quickly want to touch on is the crime rate. Now, it's widely known that Surrey has one of the higher crime rates in the country. However, living there for 22 years, I can tell you it's really not that bad. There's more violent crime, but it's all kind of connected to gang activity. And if you're not in a gang, it really doesn't affect you. Now, Abbotsford, on the other hand, has a lot more drugs and homelessness, I would say, and petty crime like car theft and car break-ins, so just something to note there. But I will say this about Abbotsford. When I moved out here, my plan was to get in the market, build equity, live here for 3 years, and either rent out that condo or sell it and then move back. But what ended up happening was I fell in love with the city. I liked how I could drive anywhere and not hit traffic. I liked how anywhere I went, I'd have to worry about running into people from high school and having those shitty, awkward conversations. And I liked the restaurants and the overall vibe of the city. It's just a little bit more relaxed. And now I would never move back to Surrey, unless it was South Surrey or White Rock, but I wouldn't move back to live anywhere else in Surrey. But here's the thing. I'm not you, and your situation is different than mine. Like, this is my personal opinion, but I don't care about the proximity to nightlife and amenities. Like, I don't drink, I don't like clubbing, and even when I lived in Surrey for 22 years, I think I used the SkyTrain like 10 times, and the Canucks are just awful. But if you need to commute to downtown Vancouver for work, and you like going out at night, and you like concerts, and you like the Canucks, and you like all of these things, Surrey is a great place to live. You know, I will never say that it's a horrible place to live or anything like that. I think it's an amazing option. You know, and I still think Surrey, like I'd still rather live in Surrey than, you know, anywhere west, to be honest with you. It's a little bit less congested than all of those cities. It still has great amenities, and you're still very accessible to everything. And especially if you're living in North Surrey, the highway comes right through North Surrey, so it's extremely accessible. Like if there's no traffic, you can get to downtown Vancouver in like probably 25 minutes. And just overall, another great option. But hey, that's another thing that I like about Abbotsford too, is I like how the highway pretty much goes right through the middle of the city. So anywhere in Abbotsford, you know, you're probably a 10-minute drive to the highway, whereas in Surrey, if you live in the southern part of Surrey, you know, you could be 20, 25 minutes to the highway, depending on the time of day that you leave to go to the highway. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you made it here to the end. Like the video. I'm 𝐕𝐈𝐃𝐄𝐒, and I'm making moves to move you. Peace.